It's our first cover clinic, so you're going to want to stay tuned for this.
Hi, and welcome to today's episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey to publication. And I'm Christina Catane, and I write Christian dystopian fiction.
I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger, and I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
And we are missing our fourth host, Rhonda Hagerman, who is out on the medical leave. And so we are still praying for her. And I know she would appreciate all of your guys' prayers as well. So I want to thank all our listeners, the live chatters, the people that listen to us later, and those who listen to us on audio. We love you all. And we would love for you all to come join our Facebook group, the listeners of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, so we can get to know you. And that would be awesome. So we start every episode. Oh, yeah. And hit a little like and subscribe and comment and share and all that. Forgot to say that. So we like to start our episodes with a little segment we call What's Up, where we go around the table and we tell each other what is up. So, Jen, let's start with you. What is up?
Well, unfortunately, it feels like I'm having
Uh-oh.
some tech issues.
Yeah, that's
So
hilarious
I
because
hope
as you
that
said
this
it,
worked
you
out
saw
okay for
like
us
this
today.
down.
But I'm just going to say I'm having tech issues. And while you guys share your what's up, I'm going to see if I can figure that out. How's that sound? So
Okay.
we got a great episode.
I think she's trying to say we have a great episode in store for you all today.
Yeah, and she's
And
got a lot of windows open because of the great episode that we have. So that
yeah.
might be part of the problem, unfortunately. Okay, well, I'll go next. My what's up is I just got done doing the HB90 boot camp, and I have my Kanban board ready to go for the fourth
Whoop, whoop.
quarter, and I have my plan in place, and I have my office completely redone and cleaned up and organized, and so I am a happy camper.
All right, tell us,
That's
what do
it.
you mean by HB90, Tina? Because I know you've talked about it
Oh,
before, but someone might not have tuned into that episode.
okay, so it's Sarah Cannon, Cannon, has this thing called HB90, and it's heart breathings is what the HB stands for, which is her
Hmm.
brand, and 90
Okay.
stands for the 90 days of a quarter. And
Yeah.
she has a boot camp where you can go on Etsy and you can buy her planning materials for like less than $30 to help you plan a quarter. But you can also take her boot camp where she like walks you through it with videos, and there's like a Facebook group, and there's a lot of support. So I
Awesome.
signed up for that last December, and then you get like your lifetime member once you sign up.
Oh, okay.
So every
Well,
quarter, I do the boot camp and I do my planning for the next 90 days.
good for you making use of that membership. Piper, who joined us in the chat this morning, she says, "Good for you." She wishes she could be that organized. And we also have Teresa and Liz in the live chat. Hi guys, thanks for joining us. Jen's the one who usually throws your quotes up on the screen, so I'll just have to
Yeah,
shout them
we have to
out
have that
for the moment.
capability.
And so you're right on track, and you can tell you've made some changes because we can even see in your background. I like how you have your little knickknacks artfully displayed there above your shoulder. That
Yeah,
looks
I
great.
needed space, so I bought a bunch of shelves. I have about like 8 shelves to put on the wall. I have so much junk. That's what's basically.
Well, if you love it, that's what's important, and it's good to
Yeah,
put
and
it
I
on
moved
display.
Athena's bed in here so that she can have her own her own little room. So
Aw.
we'll see how
Well, how
she's
nice
coming
for her
over
to be.
tonight.
Yeah, she's going to be surrounded by things you love, which is wonderful. And she can be a part of your collection of things you love. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so
All
what's up with
right.
you, Jamie?
Well, I'm going to keep with my little trend here of sharing the Stoics' wisdom and paralleling it to biblical wisdom. And because of the topic of our episode today, how you can deal with change, Marcus Aurelius said, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." And then, of course, Tina, can you guess which Bible verse?
Oh boy,
uh,
put me on the
uh,
spot.
it's fine, but when you hear it, you're going to say, "Yep." Ecclesiastes 3:1, "To everything there is a
Oh,
season, and yep, a time to every purpose under the heaven." There is, I mean, change is inevitable, and pain is inevitable, and grief is inevitable, and loss is inevitable, but so are things like joy and dancing and harvest and plenty. So, you can't have one without the other, as the wise sage Sinatra once said.
oh
And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's not a crest of a wave without a trough of a wave, and there's not um light
The
without, how
mount
would we recognize light without darkness, right?
the mountaintop without a valley.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the Stoics are very much about what do you have control over, that you worry about, and you just have to leave the rest up to God, because,
Hmm.
well, if he's the orchestrator of this whole design, I think we're in good hands, right?
Right. So it
All
looks
right.
like Jen's camera is still gone.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what to do about that.
Yeah, if anybody in the chat, oh, Jen's back.
Oh, there she is.
All right, I'm not sure. I was behind the scenes trying to figure this all out, and I'm not sure how well this is going to work out. So anyway, yeah. Anyone have a what's up in the chat?
No, we don't have very many chatters yet, and it could be just that it hasn't refreshed.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a little behind, but
But go
All
to
right,
our
yeah.
Facebook group and post your what's up if you are unable to get to the computer to type. It's possible your hands are full of soapy, sudsy water, and you can't join us in the chat, but you could always engage with us in our Facebook group. Oh, Teresa says she's been writing every day. Good
oh
for her.
good.
And she started listening to her book, which she found. I think there was a little bit of drama about lost files there for a little bit. So
Ugh,
I'm
Oh,
I've
really
been
glad to
there.
hear
there.
that.
Yeah, been
Mhm.
there.
And Piper says she finally came up with an ending for the storyline that's been plaguing her. Oh, that's great. It's literally
Nice.
been months. I totally need to hear about that experience next time I talk to her. That's awesome.
All right.
Okay, well,
So,
technically, Jen, you never shared your what's up. So what's up?
well, I don't even remember what my what's up was going to be at this point.
Is it
Other than
about
the
a
fact that,
certain little girl and a certain
oh, thank
oh.
you. That was it. So my youngest turned 12 this week, and if you know anything about me, I'm a list maker and I check things off, and I'm just very much like at Christmas time it's ridiculous. I have about like 4 or 5 different lists going on at the same time, but it works for me. I know what I'm doing. Like I've got a list just for the dinner, list for presents, list for like anyway. So when it's birthday time or Christmas time and I ask my girls for a list, they go to Google Docs and they put in what they want with a link to it so I can find it. And then they color code it. Well, especially Phoebe, my youngest. And she color coded everything on the list. Like everything pink is what I really want. Everything like blue is I would really like this as well. Yellow was not a big deal. It'd be nice if I had it, she layers it like that. Well, this year for her birthday, she gave me her list and she had added a purple segment. And the purple said, this is what I really, really want. And if I get this, you don't have to buy me anything else. And I was like, what in the world is she talking about then? And so I scroll down this 4-page list because all the links and stuff are in there. And I get to the bottom and it says toy poodle. And she didn't mean like a stuffed animal. She meant like a real live toy poodle. And
Yes, it's in purple.
yes, it's in purple. And she's been wanting it forever. And so I showed my husband and he's like, oh, I guess we're gonna get another dog now. And I was like, what? We're getting another dog? So that conversation, this is an important part of the story because when I reacted that way, he interpreted it as that we weren't getting a dog. I, on the other hand, was like, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna let us get another dog." So I start shopping around for a toy poodle to see if I can find an amazing deal, right? Well, then come fast forward where I'm looking at dogs. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I thought we were getting our dog." And he's like, we can't have another dog. You said we weren't, he said to me, you said we weren't going to get a dog. I'm like, what? So then that all happened. But
Mhm.
the problem is I had ordered no other presents. Right. And so now I'm
Right.
like, ah. And so that night I could not sleep well at all. And I woke up the next morning. I'm like, I'm going to look one more time and see if I can find a really great deal. And popped up on the website, popped up this, a brand new post and the sweetest little dogs. One was like a apricot color, one was like was all black. And I grew up with an all black little itty bitty toy poodle. And I'm like, if that's a girl, that's the one we want. And sure, I got a hold of the breeder, and she was just a lady that did it one time. She's like, I don't think I'm ever going to do it again. I just thought, it'd be fun experience for my grandkids. And um, so the grandkids are playing with it, whatever. The black one was the girl. And I said, well,
Mhm.
would you take any less? And she's like, well, I just posted. I said, well, let me tell you my story. So I told her the story. I told her all about my daughter, how responsible she is, how it's really the only thing that she's wants. She's been asking for a long time, but we weren't planning on getting a dog. And she's just like, I have a really good feeling about this. And she knocked the price down so far that we couldn't say no to it. And so she didn't think she was getting a dog, and we got her a little poodle. And because she always said if she wanted a dog, she'd carry around in a bag. Now, will this dog get carried around in a bag? Probably not. But like, I thought to play into the theme, I bought this big purse and I put the puppy in there with her blanket that I'd gotten her and wrapped it up. And she's so good. She just sat in there, waited for it to be opened. Just sat there. I held the bag. There's more to the story. I could go on and on because my dad had to watch the dog for the weekend and he fell in love with this little puppy.
It's
Anyway,
so cute. Oh my goodness.
we put it in the bag in front of her and she started opening it and she saw something moving. She thought we'd wrapped up a cat because we had teased her. Someone in the family had teased her about wrapping up a cat. They also had teased her they were going to give her toilet paper for her birthday, and she got toilet paper for her birthday from one of her sisters. So she thought she thought it was a mean prank, and then she's like, so she was really, nervous because she's like, she wanted it to be a dog, but she just knew it was a cat, and she moved it, and all of a sudden it popped its head up, and then like it reached out for her, and she started crying. It was the best. Oh, my little girl crying and so happy about this puppy. So
Did you get it
yes,
on video?
yes, we have it on video and
Oh,
pictures. I
good.
posted it on my personal page. But yes, this we are the crazy people that have 4 dogs
You
now.
need to take a
4.
picture of the new dog at least and put it in our Facebook group
Okay.
for the podcast, because now you cannot do that to our listeners and tell them all about
I
this
know.
dog and then not reward them with a cute little picture.
You have
I will
like a
So
definitely do that.
menagerie over there. You have chickens
I
and you
know. I know. If we could just put up a fence around, which we should, put up a fence around our whole yard, we would just like be a refuge for whatever
you could,
animal wanted to
yeah,
happen
you could
in.
charge like 2 bits a person to come in and see
Like a
all of
petting zoo.
your
come and pet
Dog petting
petting
zoo.
zoo.
or you
That's
could
the
be
So
like
best.
one of those cat libraries, but be a dog one and just like let
Mhm.
people come in and read books.
Uh-huh.
if you got a couple
Mhm.
goats, you'd never have to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's my girls want those. Those little mini ones, those
Yeah,
mini
they're
that's the gr
so cute.
that's what my girls keep asking us for, and I'm like, "There is no way we are getting."
That's what you say about everything, so
I
nobody
know.
believes you anymore, Jennifer.
I will post pictures, but if you're watching live right now, there's so if I can get a
Aw,
without a glare,
Oh, that's the
there
best
she
aw,
is
picture.
with
so
the
She's so
heartwarming.
happy.
yeah, and then I got a picture of it. You can totally see that she had been crying, but you probably won't be able to tell live on here, but yeah,
Aw.
she's so responsible too. 'Cause, puppy, you have to get up really early because they have to go potty. She jumps out of bed every morning. She takes care. She makes sure she gets fed. Like, she's just been really good. So,
Piper wants to know what even is a bit, and I will tell you it's half of what you need to get a shave and a haircut. So, all right. So Liz had a what's up. She said she did the sprint, but her tiny boy cut it a bit short. Oh, little
Oh, but we still want
teeny
to read it.
baby. Yes,
So
aw.
make
yes.
sure
Share it
that
to
you
us.
post it.
Yeah, on the next nap time. See if you can make your way over to the group.
Mhm.
Um, uh,
Yeah.
Piper says, "What an amazing story, Jen. I bet your girl is so happy."
She
And
is.
Teresa says she's really excited for Piper finding out her ending. Yeah, that's definitely something to celebrate.
Yeah.
And Teresa says, "Way to go, Liz. Yeah, way to do the sprint today. Do that sprint, guys, because you are writers. And, if you have a website with nothing to put on there, we're kind of spoon feeding you. Every Friday, do this sprint. We got to 600 Twitter subscribers, mostly because Jennifer every Friday posts that sprint prompt. So it's basically one interaction a week is getting us Twitter followers. So imagine if you even did one interaction a week on your personal blog, and this could be it, doing this sprint every week. You could possibly grow your social media following just by participating with our writing sprint.
Yeah. Okay, and with that, let's transition into today's topic. I'm a little excited about today's topic.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to have a cover clinic. And so the question we're asking is, can your cover be resuscitated or is it DOA? So by the end of today, we should all be able to take our covers and go and find out if how our cover is doing compared to other books in our genre.
Right.
So,
Right, because we wanna make it really clear. We are not cover experts,
Not
and
even close.
we're not coming on here to say this, but we've learned a few things over the years. I've learned some things even really recently of how to figure it out yourself, and I thought, well, this is something that needs to be shared. Because first of all, I know I talk about that I'm in other Facebook groups, and the thing that like breaks my heart is I'll see someone share a couple covers and say which one you like better, or share a cover in a even to in a reader group. Which read you readers, which cover would you like better? But it sometimes the most beautiful cover isn't going to sell the books. And if we are all just like giving our opinion on what we think looks nicer, or is a brighter picture, like that might not be the point, right? And so we thought this would probably be a good thing for us to really spend some time and go over with you guys. And hopefully it'll make sense. So,
Yeah, I mean, because as you look around, there are certain things that are just givens. And
mhm.
so, if you were to pay for some expensive course and then go pay for a different expensive course and then go pay for a different expensive course, you likely would start to see that there are some things that they just universally advise.
Yes,
And those are kind of the things that we try to focus on, the things that kind of are universally accepted as best practices, because covers sell books. Well, if they don't sell books, they certainly can keep books from selling.
agreed. And we don't always know what's going to sell a book, but we can go by look at things and figure this out. Because, like,
Yeah.
say for instance, you ask readers what they like. Readers don't always know why they pick a book. I don't always know after watching a movie trailer why I want to watch a movie or don't want to watch a movie. But you better believe that the director of that trailer knows exactly what to do in that trailer, and how to like everything about it, the music and everything, to get me to want to watch that movie. So
because
it's
if
it's
I
kind of
see
like
a trailer with a boy and a girl running across a field towards each other, I'm like flipping the channel. But if
right,
I see a trailer with a dragon like swooping down and breathing fire at people, then I'm paying attention.
Mhm.
And so it's
right.
the
But what?
same thing with your book covers.
Right, exactly. Okay. So, just so you guys know too, this is not a science. It's just an experiment that we're doing. I got this idea from a coach in Brian Cohen's author ed school. So that costs money. It's a sizable amount of money, but for me, it's so far. So that's why I've not really reported on it yet of how it's going, because I'm like really giving it time before, because you guys know we like we're cheap and we want you guys to like not spend money where you don't need to spend money. So, but this is an idea that I got from one of the coaches, a few of the coaches actually. So, all right. So first of all, you have to do the research. And we're gonna start. I'm gonna share a screen. This is where I think the problem is gonna be, is when I'm sharing screen. But okay. So here is the lovely Lost in the Land of the Midnight Sun by author Christina Catane. And so we're gonna start here with ourselves. We figure we might as well start here and look at ourselves, correct? So this is Tina's book. Now, Tina, you did it yourself and you did some research, correct?
Hmm.
Tell us how
Yes,
you
but
did
it
that
was
research.
6 years ago, and I didn't have a clear idea of what genre I was going to be marketing my book in.
Mhm,
And so when I went looking, I was thinking dystopian, so like Hunger Games.
mhm,
And I was also thinking like Left Behind. And at the
mhm,
time, the Left Behind covers all had sunsets on them.
mhm.
So like I kind of merged this uh Hunger Games with the sunset kind of idea and I made a cover.
And I think that's absolutely a great idea of doing that. So, that's the research we did back then. What I'm learning is that because I did the same thing. I went and found books that were similar to mine and that I liked, and then I tried to base them similarly off of that. But that's just like the first layer. What we need to do is when we do the research, and I gotta stop sharing screen because my notes are hidden now. When we do the research, we have to look at the top selling books of our genre. Because, say, for instance, I love this one Karen Kingsbury book, but it might be 3 or 4 years old, and that might not be a bestseller right now. What are people buying right now? That's what we have to look at when creating our book covers. And unfortunately, if you are like me and you write romance, people are saying that the trends are changing every couple years. Ugh, but we'll get into that later. So, we're gonna let me show you how to get to the bestsellers. I gotta move this over here. Sorry, guys, I'm moving things around. Okay, so we're on Tina's page again, and you're like, well, how do I know? I'm gonna make this bigger too. I did a lot of graphics for this, guys, so I'm sorry if it seems like all right. So here's Tina's selling page. If you want to know what the genres are that your book is in, you scroll down, down past the reviews and where it says product details. And you'll see right down here are her different the genres that she's in. Well, guess what? If you click one of those links, it takes you to the best sellers in that genre. So now what you do when you're in here, now let's look at this. So this is Christian fantasy. You start to look for things that are common threads, common things that you see in the book. So I want to look at it up close first, and then I'm going to have us scale back so we can see a lot of them together.
Are we supposed to chime in here?
Yes,
Because
please.
I will tell you, I only see one cover that is not darker. Like there's
Yes.
only one cover where the overall feeling of it is bright, right?
Right.
The others all feel like a stormy, cloudy day.
Let's scroll down and see if that holds true.
Okay.
Pretty much. There are some lighter ones, but even the lighter ones, like this one here, that's got a lot of light in the center, it's got a lot of dark behind it.
Yeah, it's not yellow. It's
Right.
more yeah.
Now,
There's
what
one that kind of sticks out over there
Mhm.
to the right. Yeah. And the point is, you don't really want to be the one that sticks out, do ya? I
Right.
mean, like, is that what we're saying? Oh, I like that one with the hand with the globe on it. That's
Mhm.
really eye catching to me.
Yeah, because when readers read a book that they really like and then they're looking for something that is similar, that gonna make them feel similar, they're gonna look for a cover that makes them feel similar to the cover that they just read.
Now they're
I
not gonna
So
just
if
consciously do that. They're not gonna say, "Let me go find a
right,
cover that looks." They don't. They start flipping through books, and then they see a book cover that reminds them subconsciously of what they have read, and then they're like, "Oh, what's this one?" And something clicks in them, right? It's a comfort level.
right.
Yes.
And that's
can
why I
I
was
just
using the word feel because it feels like it might be the same when you see
yeah,
the
like
cover.
it might be a cozy, comfy sweater. Like when you
Mhm.
see a sweater that's cut the way your favorite sweater is cut, you're more likely to try it on. Jennifer,
Yeah.
did we talk about the fact that this is not published? This is all self-published, this search? I just
No,
sorry, I
these are
kind of
no,
oh,
these
these
are
are
also
these are
traditional,
these are all
but
traditional.
this is
Okay.
everybody. This is the top 100.
Okay.
However, when you are looking at them, if you find a traditionally published one and it doesn't seem to fit the rest of the genre, then ignore it. Because
Yeah.
if you're Karen Kingsbury, you don't have to follow the norms. People are going to buy your book no matter what. And sometimes the publishing houses will experiment with their big names to see what flies, right? And then they might change their all of their standards to go along with that. But don't just jump on that bandwagon yet because they don't know for sure. But this is why this is important though, is that you got to look at the traditionally published books too, because guess who has all the money to put into the research about like the psychology of book covers and the colors and the trends. It's those big book companies that are the ones that have all that money to do the research. And then we look at what they're doing and we follow suit because they put the time and money into it, right? Now, if you go up here on your window, if you're using Chrome, it's right up here in the upper right corner, and you hit the three dots, you can take your zoom out, and we're going to go out to 50%. Now we're still in Christian fantasy. Now we can see it all together. And again, Jamie noticed it correctly. They are very dark.
Mhm.
I meant to point out too, fonts. The fonts all are serif fonts. There are a few exceptions, but in as a whole, they're all using serif fonts. You don't see a whole lot of mixing of fonts. They might have different sizes, but they usually use the same font. And we'll talk about in romance how it's different in romance, but
Speaking of which, what is
Mhm.
that one book that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 down all the way to the right? What is that? Because
All the way to the
it
right.
totally looks like a romance cover, that one.
I
What is
agree.
that? What is that book? I just have to
I think
know.
it's
Does
a
look like a
romance book.
romance.
I think it's
Uh-huh.
misplaced. There might have
Wow.
maybe it has
It
fantasy
could
elements in it,
it
but
could be a fantasy romance.
do you see
Mm.
why you wanna make sure you're in the right genres? When we first started writing, now not really published, but when we first started writing, there are people that were telling you to find a really underserved, like,
Niche.
category, yeah, and put yourself in that category so you can hit number 1. No, don't do that because you come to this, so look at this person is at number 40, but if I am a Christian fantasy writer or reader, excuse me, I'm not gonna care about that. I might click on it and be like, "Why is this in here?" But that is not gonna attract me, right?
And
Mm.
also, I could be number 1 in this category
Mhm.
every single day for the entire year and not make enough money to pay for advertising because it only
In
takes
the little
25
category,
books.
yes, in the
Yeah.
little categories, right. But you're in multiple categories. So, but what we're saying
Yeah,
is
right.
that there are readers out there, right? So you want
Yeah.
the readers that are out there that like your genre to be able to find you because you're fitting the genre. So the things that we
Right.
looked for are what colors seem to dominate the page? What types of fonts do you see? Do the covers use more than one type of font? All right, images. We didn't talk about images. What do they have in common? I see a lot of when I look at this, I see a lot of the font on top with the image down below. Um,
I
I
don't
do
see too many people.
right.
I see some people. I
Some
wouldn't even
people.
say it's 50-50.
And that's because some of these are probably not only Christian fantasy, but they're also science fiction or they're also,
Mhm.
I mean, they're like they kind of cross genre. Um, and I do see colors, like we see very dark, but the colors we see, I do see a lot of orange when I look at this. Orange and yellowish and there are some blue. So you take
But the
notes of that.
darker
So
oranges and yellows.
yes, the darker oranges. So when you're doing this, take notes. Just write down everything you see
And
in
your
the genres that you want.
impressions. Mhm.
Right, in the genres that you're looking at. So, I did a little bit of background, work. I photoshopped some of Tina's alright, so let's open this up. I wish I had multiple monitors. This would be so much easier. Oh, okay. Oh,
And don't worry, this Piper is speaking up that she's worried about her covers being all wrong for her genre, but I mean, there's it's nothing is unfixable.
agreed.
Well, we still have you, Jen, but you
Okay,
seem like you're a little delayed. Okay, here we go.
okay.
There's Tina's.
Okay, so here is cover number 1 and cover number 2. And now here is Christian fantasy, like we just looked at, but I photoshopped Tina's books in. Now, do they stand out immediately where they are? Because if they do, that's a problem.
Kinda,
The purple
yeah.
one for
You want your
sure.
books to blend in. Yeah,
Yeah. Like
the purple one for sure.
if you
I would say
notice,
your first one. Mhm.
yeah, one down and one to the left of Tina's, two to the left of Tina's is another one with that same color scheme, and, they
Mhm.
both look kind of, you know what I mean? Like, spot the
Yes,
difference in one of the in a highlights
right.
magazine, you would like your eye goes directly to those.
All right, so let's go to another category that Tina's listed in, and this is Christian science fiction. So we haven't looked at this yet. Again, the purple stands out. The other book is blending in a lot better.
Yeah.
Um, But we look at this and it's a little different. Now we see people, right? So now you would see why somebody like Tina, who is doing both genres, would have a person in there, but would still want to fit in on both. So how do they do that? They're still having dark backgrounds. You still see lots of the orangish yellow, the dark colors, and some blues in there. But they're still using they're still fitting in that way. What I noticed the difference though, look at the fonts. These are all sans serif fonts.
Hmm.
So if your stronger genre, what you really fit into would be science fiction and not fantasy, you would be using a sans serif as opposed to a serif.
Yeah, and it's interesting about the people being on the cover. Now, let me just point out that Tina's purple one is a book too, right? So
Yes.
I would argue that like she really needs to get book one perfecto, because book 2, she obviously just made it a different color so that
Mhm.
she would have, recognition from people who like her book, right? Like, so
Right.
she's hoping people will recognize that logo and recognize it as a book that they like. But I do appreciate this exercise. Like, I'm not kind of trying to say that she shouldn't also, like, she maybe could have gone darker blue
Mhm.
instead of this purple color, right?
Right. Exactly. Or maybe stayed with orange, but with a different picture behind the logo. I mean, there's lots of things that you can do. Um, so at this point, we're
Mhm.
just taking notes. We're not making any sort of decisions, big decisions right now, right? We're still at the
Mm-hmm.
note making, note making decision
Yeah,
part of
good
this.
point.
So, all
Okay, gotcha.
right, one more category that she's in, and this is religious science fiction and fantasy. Now, again, dark, but not as dark. So this is a lot more, I think, of cross genre, the science fiction and fantasy. Cool, because obviously it's science fiction and it's fantasy. So there's a lot more like for you. There's more purple. I do see some more
I do see
purple.
more purple, yeah.
But again, the purple one does stand out more than the orange, right?
Yeah, and this kind of makes Tina's purple book look like that romance book. Remember? It like
Right,
kind of almost looks like, well, this is not what these other books are.
right,
The orange one, you don't even really like, it does not catch your eye so much here.
right.
But yeah.
And, another thing to point out too, like when you're doing your research, see in the middle here where it says new releases, you could click on. That's a good place to go too. Go see like new releases and look at like the big name publishers or big name authors in your genre and see if they have new releases. See what their book looks like. Like there might be some new trends that are showing up. But again, we're gathering notes here. Um, all right, so that's Tina's book. So I'm not gonna just put her up on the. I keep saying chopping block. That's not the right word, but we're not gonna put her
On
up for this
stage.
on stage. She's not the only one. We're gonna look at mine as well
I just
because
want to add a final comment to mine is the perfect example of covers that are pretty that don't meet the genre expectations
that's very
anymore.
I agree. And I would say mine would be as well. So here we're gonna I don't know why I keep hitting stop share.
Yes, clearly the covers passed muster when we were looking at them and saying, "Oh, what great covers," at the time. So, it does not mean that you are not doing good work or that you made a bad quote unquote decision. And again, this is for selling books. If you're just like, I don't
Yes.
care if I ever sell a book, I'm writing for me and I want my covers to please me. Go ahead, girl, you do you. But what we're talking about is trying to sell books because I don't think that I have marketable covers, but I like my covers. So,
Mhm.
whatever. But if you want to sell, you've got to follow some conventions, right? Ladies, would
Right.
you say? Yeah.
Yep. And this
Yes.
is my first book, and I agreed with what Jamie said about getting your first book best because people are going to start no matter how you advertise or they happen across you, they're going to go find the first book of the series and start there. So the first book is really the one that you market the best. So if you can with one cover, start with your first book. So this is my first book. I loved it when I did it. I loved all my covers. I'm
I
not
love
saying
that font.
yeah, I mean, so this is where I'm at. So we're gonna go to my first. So here I am in historical Christian romance, and I put my book in there. And does it stick out quickly? Do you see it quickly?
I mean, not
Not so
so
much.
much. There's
All right.
some blue sky above
Yep.
you. Like there's a that's
But
wise because you have blue sky there, and
yeah.
so that part makes you blend, right? But
Right.
certainly your big giant person is an outlier, like for sure. But it
Yes.
doesn't, yeah, it's not so glaring, but for sure it does not match the others. That one and the one in the upper rightmost corner, I think are the two that pull my eyeballs.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so I
that's an
think that would be.
audiobook. I hate when that
Is
when
it?
yeah, when you see square, it's not even supposed to be there. I don't know. It's like a Amazon whatever, but
Oh,
so let's talk
pshaw.
about what we see in romance. We can see there's blue skies are a big trend. And one person, maybe two on your cover, but not like mine are big. It is like they're in some sort of scene, usually an outdoor scene, usually some sort of landscape with a blue sky behind. That's a big font. That's a big
And
trend.
they aren't hovering over the world. What is
Yes.
right next
That
to you?
was
Is
a
that
really
just a
popular
head?
trend.
The one right next to you, is that just someone's
Where
head?
on mine?
Like right next to your book,
Right to
like
your
to the
right.
right.
Oh, yep, exactly. That's just a head. So that was a very popular trend, and there are still some books that are being released like this, especially in Christian romance. But the trend really is moving toward the one person in a scenery, blue skies. And so my font is not too far off. Still having some sort of script type font, generally though mixed with a serif font. You'll see the one next to me has a script and a serif font. This one up here has kind of a scripty serif. This one here by Ashton Newbold has got a script and then a serif. So I'm not too far off with that. So I could probably stay with, because I've really branded that font in a lot of stuff. So I could probably
And
stay with the font.
let me ask you, so the big head next to you, that's her shoulders, like, she's not floating above the city kind of a thing,
No,
right?
she
Like,
is.
this
She's floating
she
above
is.
this.
Got
Yes.
it, got it. Okay. No, I just was clarifying because it's just hard to see in the
Right.
picture. Okay, got it, got it, got it.
Can you
So
explain again? Because you explained this to us when we were talking about the episode, but can you explain the difference between the serif and the sans serif?
Times New Roman, this is a serif. At the end of each of like the lines, it has like a
Foot.
line that sticks out, like a foot. Yes.
Mhm.
And sans serif means without serif. Actually, you guys, I always have a trouble remembering. You guys help me figure that out. So sans serif doesn't have that. It's just like the straight fonts, like I can't find it on this page.
Courier, isn't Courier
Courier,
sans
yes,
serif? Mhm.
yes.
So it doesn't have that little extra stroke coming down off of each
S-
line.
yeah,
Mhm.
science fiction generally is sans serif, and I think like thriller or like oh, what does Mark Dawson write? I guess that's like thriller, like,
Yeah, that's like a
spy
crime
stuff,
thriller.
crime
Yeah.
thriller, that kind of stuff is usually sans serif. But we don't need to, if that's not your genre, don't worry about it. We only want you to focus on your genre and really get to learn and to know your genre. So now I'm looking at this top 100 and which ones do I I'm going to make my notes. I'm going to say that I see Blue Skies, um, by far much lighter covers than what in Tina's genre,
Yeah, for
right?
sure. There's only, like, one dark one that I see, and it really sticks out. It looks
Right
like it
here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one. It looks like it belongs with those other ones we were looking
that is
at.
traditionally published. That is
Wow.
Francine Rivers, like probably the queen of my genre. And it's her latest book, and, like, remember what I said, they're gonna try new things and see if it flies, right? So, it may be that we go this direction in our
Yeah, she
genre,
might
I
start
don't
it
know.
off because everybody might try to copy hers because it's selling. You
But
never know.
I will say that if you look at her covers from the past several books that she's done, they have all been different than what is the norm in the genre, and people have not followed suit. I think she just is her own
Yeah,
kind
she
of
can sell
island.
anything,
She can
yeah.
sell anything,
And
right?
her subject matter sometimes can be, heavy. But Jen, okay, so the floating head next to you, I'm sorry I keep belaboring it. Is that a trad pub or, like, is that someone who can just
I'm gonna
basically
say
do whatever cover?
No. You know what? I was gonna say it's not Trad Pub 'cause it's $1.59 for this um but it is a Trad Pub publisher. So the reason this might be an older book.
Could
And here's
be.
what I think. I think that her trad publisher put the price way down to I've never seen $1.59. That's very strange. There's a few of them up here.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah,
kinda
Tracy
having a
Peterson.
closeout sale.
So that's what it is. So here's what's going on right now. I'm glad you pointed that out. So Tracy Peterson, Rachel Fordham, those are trad published romance authors, and they were not up in. If you last week or 2 weeks ago would have looked at the bestsellers in my genre, they were indie authors. They were not trad published. So maybe the trad publishers are like, wait a minute, and are trying to get up there. So because
Yeah.
there's a lot of trad published people up here now that I'm looking at this. So
Wow, okay.
number one is number three is uh um, yeah, I'm having a hard time. Anyways, there's a lot in there, a lot more than normally are. So,
Okay.
but again, like
How do you find that out? Like, you
I
say
just know
that
my genre.
you just know your genre.
I know my
See? Good
genre.
for
I spend a
you.
lot of time.
If
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
really want to know, you open a new window on Amazon and in the
Mhm.
search bar type the name of the book, and when you get that whole list of book covers,
Mhm.
it'll say have a publisher. If it says Amazon Services LLC, that's definitely self-published.
Yes, but Jen
And
is
you
right.
can
If
see who the
yes. Sorry,
All
Tina, I
right.
don't mean to talk over you.
Oh no, you're
Uh,
fine. I was
all
just
right, we're gonna
repeating
go through
myself.
my next one here really fast. So, oh, I guess I gotta go backwards. Sorry. So then this is Christian mystery and suspense romance, which you were like, you'd think like, what? Like, but believe it or not, my book sells really well in Christian suspense. And I didn't, if you think about it, if you've read my books, there is always some sort of like something you don't like, a mystery of some sort, but I don't feel like it's mystery heavy, but like in Christian romance, it's, I guess, it falls in that. But so I feel like these books are a little bit darker. I feel like my book stands way out in this genre, but it's funny because I sell more in this genre. But so that's that. All right. So we asked in our Facebook group, if you're not a member, please go over there and join it. We have a lot of fun over there. We asked in our Facebook group if there would be any of our listeners who would be willing to put their book up for our perusal in the same way. And we had a few people that were willing to do that. We really appreciate that. So we're going to try to run through this really quick with those that were willing to do that. And so if you sent me your link before this morning, then I was able to do it. So we're going to try to go through it. First, we're going to start with our friend. Oh, you guys, I keep hitting the wrong button and I close out the screen, which is so silly. So
Yeah,
that's what's taking me so
we
long.
had a really overwhelming response, and we really appreciate it. So, we Jen had to be able to do some manipulation, so she really needed the link. So if you didn't
Right.
send a link, we just want you to know,
Right.
that's why we didn't get to yours.
Okay, so first off, this is Liz. She has 2 books. She has one called Anne Visible, A Kingdom Tale, and she has one called Viridian Dreams. So let's
Okay,
start off.
wait. So can I just say, so I'm just gonna say about that first one that I believe it's about a girl who can turn invisible, and it might have like a romance. It looks romance to me. So maybe a romance about a girl who can turn invisible. That's just my first impression, okay? And
Okay.
then the second one,
I for sure see fantasy when I look at it because of the purple and like the
Sparkles.
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 And then
Uh,
this one, first of all, I think it's beautiful. This
Yeah,
is a
it's
beautiful
dark.
cover.
Yeah,
hmm
this is yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's a
But
different genre.
do
Got it.
beautiful covers sell? This is the problem, is they don't always sell. So let's look at it. All right. So she's also in Christian fantasy. I think that can you guys pick out her books
I
quickly?
couldn't until like just now. Like I just
Right.
like so it was not so bad. Now there's more yellow, but I do see a lot of blue and purple. So
Right.
it's pretty good. It's just brighter, I think, maybe than the most of them.
So I think that the her first book, the Anne Visible, stands out more than the Viridian Dreams, but I still think it can fit within here. I can't read the title at all on Anne
Mm-mm.
Visible.
Well, my
Um,
screen is so tiny,
well,
so
that's
I'm
the
not.
point. I know it is tiny, but also the point is that you're just supposed to be looking at it from like a eagle eye view to see
Yeah,
if it's
I
gonna
would want
melt
bigger
in.
font for sure. I
Yes.
would want bigger font.
And I love Viridian Dreams. I think it fits in color wise. Um,
I can't even find it. Where is it?
I put her at number 2 because
Oh
I
wow.
try
So
to keep you
yeah, it
guys all
really
over the
blends
top
in. Yeah,
18.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
Mhm.
does blend in. I would say that in this genre, there's more like realistic pictures and less like art in this genre.
You're right.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Gosh, I love that cover though. What a
I
bummer.
do, and I'm not saying that she's too far off. So but because this is Christian fantasy, here she is in religious and science fiction. Now, I think the purple fits in a little bit better here. You got some purple going on down
Uh-huh.
here.
Yep.
But still, the blue, as far as science fiction and fantasy, the blue is not as prevalent as the gold.
If she
But
just even tinted it to be a little more green, that might help, right? I
maybe,
mean,
but I
but
don't know
still
if
there's
this.
I see people everywhere
But is
here.
this a case too for her that like she never intended on being in this genre, but people from this genre buy her? Like with
Right.
me with mystery, I never intended on being there, and she's
Yeah.
got one more. Now this is where I think she shines.
Yeah.
Teen and young adult Christian fantasy. Now, I don't
Mhm.
know if her Anne Visible is a young adult book or not, but it sure by the cover, if I were to guess, I would guess that it was. Also,
Yeah.
look at the number 1 book over here, The Girl Who Looked Beyond the Stars is not a realistic picture. It's beautiful. It reminds me a lot of Liz's cover. I just feel like that if this is not her genre, if she doesn't want her book to be marketed in this area, then maybe her covers are off. But if her book if this is her dream genre, then I think that she did really well with
Yeah,
her book
she's
covers.
pretty good. I still would maybe want bigger font on Invisible,
For sure.
maybe.
I
Mhm.
agree, for sure. So okay, so
Great
that
job.
was Liz.
Wow.
And I
Did
know
she
we're running
buy those or did she make those?
I
Gosh,
don't
good
know.
job.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I would love to know that, but, because they look very professional.
Yeah.
Alright, and so next we're going back to Christian romance. And I'm gonna make the screen big. And this is our friend Joan. Joan is also one of our members of our group and has been on in our chat before. She
And
has 2
yeah,
books out, The One Who Knows Me and The One Who Loves Me.
I
All
have
right,
to
so
say I have seen this, I don't know, do you call these animated people? I have seen this
illustrated.
around. Yeah, illustrated.
Okay.
Mhm. So I
Same
have
here.
seen it. Mhm.
Same here. So you're going to be surprised, I think, when you see it in the genre. So here is Black and African American Christian fiction, which is where she is listed. And if this is her target, then her book covers, there's no one else in the
Doing
top
that.
45 doing that.
I would say if I looked at that book, I would have guessed it was young adult, right? Like, so, like,
Y
that's what I would have guessed. Just
right.
like looking at browsing books, I would have thought, here's a young adult work as I picked it up to like read the back or whatever. Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
As a romance reader, I would have said rom-com for sure.
Ah,
And
yeah.
Mhm.
unfortunately, there is no Christian rom-com. There isn't.
Ooh, why not?
Well, I don't, maybe enough of us
There's
don't
no
write it.
Christian dystopian either, so
Right.
and that's really
So
where I feel like I fit.
the
Jonah,
next
if yours is rom-com, you need to be a trailblazer.
all right. Well, she is. I mean, she can be. It's just we got to get Amazon on board with that, right? If enough of us start
Yeah,
writing it. But now here isn't just Christian romance. Now here's
fits
the problem
better.
with Christian romance is it's too broad, right?
Yeah,
Christian romance is everybody. So you're gonna get everything from Christian romantic suspense, which I sell really well in, to historical Christian romance, to Christian. But this is the only place that, like, if you're rom com, that you like, this would be where you would choose. Um, so looking at this, she does fit in better. But again, no, there's no other illustrated covers. But I love her
mhm.
covers. Like, so stick with me, Joan. I do. I love your covers. So
Me
don't think.
too.
But here's my suggestion. Those 2 are where she is listed. But look, because I read this genre, I looked at that and I said, okay, these are the authors I think she fits in with. And I went and looked at what genres they were in. And I think, now look at
Oh, look at that.
so this is clean and wholesome romance. Not technically
Mm.
Christian, but most of these books are going to be Christian. Now, if you quickly look at this, can you pick her books out
Nope.
quickly? You
I can't
can't
even find them.
because there's other
They have
illustrated
completely
books.
blended in.
Yes,
Yep.
and I think, and this is where you're gonna find rom-com that would have the values. I mean, may not be, some of them are Christian, some are not, but they're gonna be the values that someone like me who wants to read a rom-com would go to. So if Joan is not I think that this would be, and it's a larger market, so more
Yeah.
money. So
Mhm.
Joan, if you're listening and you might want to consider changing your categories and trying to get into this category because I think this is where you're gonna shine. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. People are gonna want to scoop up her book if they like these other covers.
agreed. Now, I don't know how much time we have left because we had some issues earlier today, but
How many more do
It
you
is
have?
10:50.
whoo, darn it. I, I'm trying to hit escape right now. Let me tell you how many I have, and then we may have to make the decision to do the rest in the I only have one more.
Oh, okay.
Is it okay if we go over a little bit today?
It's okay for me. I don't know
It's
about
fine
for
with me.
Bambino.
All right. Apologize for this being a long episode, everybody, but I feel like that this will, I appreciate everybody like putting their book up there for us to look at and to look at the categories, right? So all right. So this is from our friend Crystal.
Oh, I really like that cover.
So
That's so
what would
beautiful.
you guess is her genre by looking at this? No,
Um,
we're not experts,
See,
Uh,
right?
you've educated me too much now, so it's
Okay.
not
I
as
would say
organic.
I wanna say literary, like
Mm,
women's fiction, maybe, literary.
uh-huh.
I would think that if you like Tina's book, you would like this book. That's what I
Really?
would think. Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So
Just because
the
it's orange, right? Do you know what I mean? It's
okay.
orange and it has that scenery. I mean, it just completely, but now you got that font though that says romance, but when I look at
Mhm.
it, I don't think it's a romance. I feel like it's some kind of like a journey to find yourself kind of story.
Well, one of her categories is Christian mystery and suspense romance, where I am as well. And so can you find her
Oh,
book?
yes.
Yes. It's not terrible because there are other ones that have purple and orange and pink in it, but you can find it. And again, like I said, maybe she didn't choose this. Maybe she's just selling there.
Yeah.
Southern fiction.
Can't find it.
Yeah, it fits
Where
in
is
much
it?
better.
I don't even know. Oh, there it
It's
is
over
over
there.
there.
So
Mhm.
lots of in Southern fiction, lots of green and orange, lots of it. You can see, I mean, it's like I guess.
Piper is guessing that it's a fairy tale retelling based on the image, but she's not sure based on the title. Interesting.
And contemporary Christian fiction. I believe it is contemporary Christian fiction, which Tina was not far off, because women's literary fiction, a lot of times the books between contemporary Christian fiction and Christian literary fiction, they go back and forth, because there's
Mm-hmm.
generally some sort of romance in that. Not always, but again, I think that it fits better in here as well. Again, contemporary Christian, we already talked about this. It's super broad, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But with the two types of fonts and the in contemporary Christian, you're gonna find, so this isn't just Christian fiction, it's contemporary Christian fiction. You're gonna find lots of scenery. You're gonna see lots of like this one here is a barn, and you're gonna see lots of things like that. Not actually people, right?
Yeah.
Where
Mm-hmm.
historical people is definitely a trend.
Yeah. Good point. Really good
Um,
point.
and so I think a lot of these are off mark. I think that she fits well in here, even though it doesn't initially show up that way. But
Mm-hmm.
so um so yeah, I think that the one thing that stands out to me about her cover that I would maybe change for me is the fonts. I don't see her name hardly at all. And the
Yeah.
font, the faith is just a little too big. Oh, the other thing I
Yeah.
forgot to point out too, in romance, white titles are like the thing. There are so many white titles
Wow.
on that. And so this one here is not as much, but the historical romance, I noticed that everybody's cover, even the lighter covers, have white font. So that's just something
Hmm.
to think about.
Hmm.
So yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody participating. I hope this was helpful. Again, we're not experts. We're just here like trying to show you, how do you figure these things out? Because everyone will tell you, oh, your book doesn't fit genre. Well, how do I know? How do I figure this
Mm-hmm.
out?
And if
So
you can't afford to take a course or pay an expert, and you got to do it yourself, it's good to know how to do it yourself.
even if you're going to pay someone to do your book covers, you need to give them suggestions. You need to send them covers. These are the ones I want you to like be like, because if you just tell them contemporary Christian romance and they go to this themselves, like how would they, the one we just showed you, how would they know which one you want to be like? So what do you do if
And
your
if the
book doesn't? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if the conventions are changing every couple years, then
Right.
you need to know when that happens. So you probably need to do this, like when you're doing your annual planning or something. Make it part of that to go and look
That's a great
and see
point.
how your covers look.
Right. So what do you do if your book doesn't match your genre? Right. Well, first of
Quit
all,
writing forever
no,
and
whoops, that's the wrong
go to
thing.
your bed with Haagen Dazs and never resuscitate.
This is why Jamie is not the only person on here giving advice. Just so yeah. If you're all right, so it depends. What do you do? Well, it depends. Is your book selling? Because if it's
Yeah.
selling, then
Who
don't do
cares?
anything.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. So let's go back to my book cover. My book cover is not matching the trends right now. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? My book is selling. Like I
Yay.
am doing this. I'm looking at conversion rates, and my conversion rate is through the roof right now. And all I have to do is to figure out how to ramp up to get more people to see it, because the more people see it, then the
Mhm.
more will buy it. So I'm not touching anything on my
Right.
books right now. When sales start to slump, then I'll look at it again.
Right.
If your books are not selling, well, then you may have some homework to do. Study your genre like I've done. Take some notes and get a clear idea. And then don't get worried because like maybe you don't have time or money is too much. But don't forget about get covers. Remember, we talked about that several weeks ago, several episodes ago. And one of our listeners, Christine Josephs, tried them out. And if you go to our Facebook group page, she shared the image, and it was fantastic. She not only got a beautiful cover, but it's spot on for genre. So you can go look at our Facebook group for that.
Well, and not only that, but your cover might not be the problem anyway. So you
Mhm,
can revisit your blurb. So you
mhm.
don't necessarily need to make a change to the cover, I think is what you're
Right.
saying, Jen, but
Right.
maybe.
If your cover fits, come back next week for our blurb clinic. It could be your blurb.
We are going to be looking at blurbs next week. So if you're in our Facebook group, we're going to put a post up for that. If you would like to submit your blurb for us to look at next week, then we'll have a post that you can go onto the Facebook group and do that as well. So
And they need to send you the link, right? Like not
yes,
put the
I'll put
blurb
that.
in the post. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put that all in the post so that,
Yeah.
yep. So thank you for sticking with us, everybody. I hope nobody felt too bruised through that. I hope we bruised ourselves more than we bruised anybody else. But again, it was just an exercise to show you how to do this yourself. And we hope that you found something useful in this.
Right. And we appreciate you all because we didn't want to pick somebody else's book and have everybody feel like we're picking on somebody.
Right.
So we really appreciate the people who volunteered.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay, so it's time for feeding of the backs. Um, and I'm going to pick on Jamie to go first to tell us
All righty.
what our prompt was and read us what you wrote.
All right. So, in keeping with our theme, our prompt was change is always hard.
Mhm.
And here is my take on change is always hard. The old man stood up and mopped his forehead with a kerchief from his back pocket. Kirsten didn't want to sneer, or Kirsten wanted to sneer and did mentally before catching herself. Who still carries a handkerchief? Her sneering self asked. For that matter, who still wears dungarees? I mean, at least denim ones, she corrected herself, remembering the jumpsuit train she'd climbed enthusiastically aboard only a few months prior. The old man was even wearing a long sleeved shirt underneath. In Kentucky. In August. But her sneering self was swiftly put down by the voice of her judge not mother, which Kirsten had long ago started to believe was her own true self's voice.
Mhm.
After all, she chided herself, you're the damsel in distress here. Shamed, Kirsten dropped her head and twisted her foot, inadvertently turning her ankle. She put a hand on the car to steady herself. You all right, miss? The geezer asked, not sneering, though he had a right to sneer, Kirsten realized, looking down now at the dusty pump on the offending foot. He was clearly concerned, and that was all he was. Yes, I'm just so grateful. I thought you was going down there for a minute, the man said. He took his cap off and passed a hand over a pate Kirsten imagined must have once hosted a mop of sweaty hair on occasions like this one. He glanced to his right and lifted his chin toward the gigantic yellow farmhouse across a field dotted with bundled hay. Why don't you go on up to the house and have my wife look after you? I'm fine, really. Even as the words slipped past her lips, Kirsten felt her face flush. It had been a long time since anyone had offered to look after her. The
Mhm.
man glanced down at the bulge Kirsten had not bothered to hide for the drive home. Woman in your condition might not want to be out in the heat for so long. I'm fine, really, Kirsten said, and had to bite back the rest of the bitterness that suddenly rushed into her throat like bile. She wasn't in town for a visit with Ma Kettle. She was passing through this nowhere land on the way to see whom? Her own mother? Would Mom have even taken the day off to see her settled in? Or would she reunite upon her homecoming with a note on the kitchen counter? Kirsten imagined coming home to that yellow farmhouse. She'd never seen the woman inside, but knew somehow she was plump and wore an apron. And if she had shoes at all, they would be sensible ones. And likely, if she were expecting company, she'd be wearing hose. And she'd step out on that big porch and lift a hand in greeting as Kirsten rolled up. And then she'd inquire about the donut and the flat. And then she'd apologize for having forgotten to take the apron off. But she'd put on her good dress for the occasion. And that was all the time I had.
Oh, Jamie. I love so when we came out of the sprint, Jamie's like, I wasn't ready to be done writing. I'm not ready for you to be done writing. Like, I love this. Like, I love, first of all, the name Kirsten just seems to fit this person. And I love that, like, you are showing how she's kind of uptight and like too good for this area, but then she's drawn to it too because how is like how are these simple people beneath her when she's going to go home to a mom that doesn't care about her all, and here this could be something, and then she starts as a whole little fantasy. Like, I love it. Loved everything about it. I'm
Thanks.
drawn into the character and the
Yeah.
world.
I agree with everything Jen said, and I really want her to go up to the house and see what it's really like, and then go home and compare the two.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, I think that would be a great character kind of thing to explore.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I did not want to stop writing this. I really was enjoying myself.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
Gigi says, "Jamie, your characters are so personal." Love it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Jamie's characters. Yeah, that's a super strength with her.
This could be a complete novel. I really can see you really can really get inside this person and learn more about like her life, that like a women's fiction or literary fiction.
Mhm.
That's what I feel about this, and I would love to read a lit fiction from you. I think that that could be amazing. So
Yeah, I
Thanks,
agree.
everyone. I love
yeah.
Friday.
Joan says, "Ooh, joining in late, but just wanted to pop in and say I appreciate the episode. Thanks for all the helpful advice on the cover." Oh, you're welcome, Joan. Hope that you enjoyed it because I do love your covers.
Me
I
too.
mean, they were great, but yeah, I'm just hoping that like we gave you some sort of insight, or I don't know. We're
Yeah,
not
something
experts.
to be helpful.
Yeah, Piper says that was so good, Jamie. Agreed.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna go next. And this is what I came up with for change is always hard. Celestrina squirmed and struggled against the walls, trying to break through. She was beginning to think it was a hopeless endeavor. She stopped to rest her sore muscles and catch her ragged breath. Perhaps she should allow herself to drift back into the peaceful slumber she'd been immersed in for the last few weeks. It was so tempting. Her eyes drifted closed and she relaxed her entire body. But something inside of her compelled her. She couldn't give up, not now. Gathering up all her strength, she pushed on the walls. Her jaw began to ache from gritting her teeth, and her lungs screamed for her to take a breath. Ah! She screamed with the last breath of her air. She felt a portion of the wall crack. Cool air seeped in through it and caused a sensation against her that gave her chills in her entire body. Her strength felt renewed, and she began to bang her entire body against the weak portion of the wall. It cracked some more. She attacked it with renewed vigor. She could hear voices now from the other side, but she ignored them as she pushed with renewed strength. Then the wall gave way, cracking open just enough for her to crawl through its papery layers. She stepped out on the edge. All around her, her family waited, fluttering their wings with joy at her emerging. She carefully unfurled her own wings for the first time. They were dark purple and lavender with black designs on them. She
Mhm.
caught her breath as she gazed at their beauty. "Come on," shouted her brother Cho. "Fly! You won't believe how awesome it is to fly." Celestrina hesitated. What if she couldn't do it? What if she fell to the ground? "Don't be afraid," her mother said with soft confidence. "You can do it." So Celestrina jumped. The wind caught in her wings and she was floating. She flapped them and rose on the air current. Joy flooded her soul.
I love this, Tina.
Aw.
At first, I thought it was just the whole thing was gonna be like an allegory, and then, like, it literally you are writing about a butterfly, and I love it. Like,
Thanks.
Yeah.
when you said, like, that, she could hear her family fluttering their wings, like, and I thought, "Oh, like, what a great, allegory." Like, like, she's busting through this wall, like, anyways, so good. I loved it.
I know, me too. And like it's funny because it sort of surprised me. I really
Mhm.
expected this to be another angel that was in captivity, but that like
Ah.
so I thought we were back there. And
Mhm.
so like for me it was really fun to take the journey of it being what it is. And I really enjoyed this. It felt like a very good story to read to children.
Yes.
Thank you.
I love though that like I was like my mind was somewhere else with it for a while, and probably because like I live in a land of home improvement that just seems to never end. In my mind it was drywall, right? And the
Me
papery, like
too.
it
Mhm.
totally fit. And so like, but I love that surprise. Like I love that I was surprised, but like, yeah, it was so
It
pretty.
Mhm.
was really
So,
tempting to write cocoon instead of walls. And I thought,
Mm.
no,
oh,
I'm not going to say anything that
no,
gives
perfect.
away
Way
that she's a
better.
butterfly trying to get out of her cocoon.
Great
No,
choice.
way better this way. Yeah, Gigi says, "Oh, Tina, so good coming through the wall and she could fly." That's so great.
Yeah.
Piper says, "Oh my goodness, Tina, that was such a cool twist. I was thinking a woman kidnapped or something, but then figured out, yeah, me too. I was like, why is she breaking through a wall?" And then I'm like, so then I thought maybe it was gonna have a funny twist, like maybe the neighbors were like making too much noise, like, and she's gonna bust through the wall and tell them to shut up. I didn't know, but I like it's so good, yeah. And Gigi also
Thanks, guys.
agreed with Joan that she said it's such a great episode. We appreciate you guys. You guys are so awesome.
Okay,
So
so it is
yeah.
your turn, Jennifer.
All right, short because you know that I'm back in Widows of the West, and I have written about storms before, and I feel like this is going to be leading up to like one of the storm scenes that I wrote.
Mm.
So change is always hard, but moving from the beautiful lush green lands of her youth to the hot dusty plains of Texas had been especially difficult for Colleen. pause for a second. Just so you guys know, I haven't done the research on what the land is like in Texas. So don't come at me. Don't come at me if I'm wrong. To be fair, Texas had a beauty all its own, and Colleen often found herself admiring God's handiwork in the vast blue skies, a blue that seemed to belong to Texas alone. The way the breeze would sway the desert grasslands near the plateau, and the storms that rolled over the valley. The storms were especially beautiful, scary at times, but the same strength and majesty that at times brought devastation to crops and even small buildings was also what made them so beautiful. And if Colleen's senses were correct, they were about to experience some of that majesty this evening. But despite the beauty of this new land, it still did not compare to Ireland. In Ireland, there was green everywhere. The smell of freshness emanated from every corner of the land when it rained, and Colleen had always enjoyed running across the field, absorbing not only the wetness of the rain, but the smell. In Ireland, things were green and fresh and young. In Ireland, she was green and fresh and young. In Texas, she was old. She was dried up and cracked, thirsting for the youth and innocence of her past, a past she left behind for promises that were emptier than the overflow bucket near the garden, and no amount of rain would ever be able to repair the damage Texas had caused her.
Oh my gosh, that last bit was so great.
Yay.
I love when you said that in Ireland she was green and fresh, and like
Mhm.
that whole feeling of our youth that we lost. I really resonated with that. Like,
Thank
Mhm.
you.
awesome.
Yeah, and how she's, like, attributing all of that. So you wonder, okay, so she came to Ireland. It just kinda makes you wonder because, was she running towards something? Was she taken as a child? Did you say? Because I feel really bad if I just missed
Not
that
in
detail.
this. No,
Okay.
she came to marry Denny. Like he had made
Oh,
promises
okay.
and
Uh-huh.
yeah. And
See, because I
she brought a dowry.
romanticize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'd brought a dowry, and that's how the land even got and purchased. But like yeah, there's lots to the story, but
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I really
Yeah, when
appreciate
you
that,
said she
Jen.
was dry and cracked and old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
that's
like
how I
the
feel.
empty overflow bucket, like, that's perfect because it says it doesn't rain enough there without saying it
Mhm.
doesn't rain enough there.
All right, thanks. I don't know what an overflow bucket is. I made that up.
Oh, I
I don't
believed you. This is
like
great when you have naive readers, right? I also believed your description of Texas. It's probably nothing like that. Like, I
it
would run
kinda
around telling my
is.
friends,
There's
Texas is
parts of it.
like.
I'll do better research so that I can describe exactly where they are, but
Well,
yeah.
Gigi
I mean, I
says
don't know
she's
if there's
heading to
valleys.
Texas next month, and this
Oh,
is so good. So,
yeah, take some notes for me.
Put Jen in your suitcase. She needs
you
a
know,
travel for work trip.
Texas is a very large place, and I'm sure
Right.
there are like the dry, dusty, cracked areas with the tumbleweeds, as
Right.
well as the greener areas where there are rivers and
But are they all together where she is? You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know
I
all
don't
these
know.
things are true about Texas, but like, can she look out her like on her porch and see all of it at one time? Probably not. So,
And my sister-in-law lives in Fort Lauderdale, which I believe is like a not Fort Lauderdale, San Antonio.
yeah.
It's like on the beach kind of
Hmm.
situation.
Piper says, "Oh my goodness, she was old. The overflow bucket at the edge of the garden feels so bad for her."
Hmm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Liz says, "I love comparing her to the landscape."
Thank
Yep.
you.
And Teresa says she loves all our sprints.
Aw,
Yay!
thanks,
Thanks.
Teresa.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I am gonna read yours as soon as we're out of here.
it's just for the sake of the fact that we're over time, let's real quick
Mhm.
give our what's next. Jamie, what's next for you?
Last week, I committed to writing Monday through Friday, and I'm pleased to say that I wrote
Yay.
today, and I wrote Monday and Tuesday, and then for some reason just forgot that I was going to do that. I guess I was busy. I don't know. But anyway, 3 out of 5 ain't bad. Yay
I
me.
agree.
I'd like to write more, and so that's where I'm at.
Okay. John?
What about you, Tina?
Oh, well, I'm just going to be working my plan that I came up with. And my daughter's baby shower is tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's my
Yay.
cousin's coming in from Indiana. So going to Frankenmuth for dinner. So that's about it.
All right. And for me, I am still editing, and I'm also trying to do some more planning stuff for this next quarter and try to end the year strong. So that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Okay, so next week we're having our blurb clinic. So if you want us to clinic your blurb, go to the Listeners of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast Facebook group. Join if you haven't already. Make sure you answer the questions to join. Some people miss that. And that's what we're going to do next week. So until then, may your pen be prolific, your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye now.